Yo, what's up guys? In this video we are going to be building this nice rough sawn for Vanity. I am really stoked with how this came out. I've never done a job that is like rustic and rough like this, so pretty cool. So let's get right into it. All right, so first, this is just one part in this kind of whole series of this job. This job is like a full house package. I still have doors to glue up for other cabinets in the house. The reason I wanted to put this together today is my clients actually are from out of town. This is a vacation home for them and they're not always here. So they're coming into town this weekend and I wanted to get a cabinet put together so at least they have something to look at, not just a pile of doors or plywood box parts. You know, this gives them something they can come in and actually check out. So I threw this together this morning, so we're going to go through the whole process of the final assembly.
All right, so here we go, cutting some plywood down. Not my favorite part, but a necessary one. Someday I'll have a CNC to do this for me, but start with ripping everything down. I double rip everything to get rid of that factory edge. And the shop is quite messy right now because we are in the middle of a big project. But then over to the slider to cross cut. But before I do that, I need to get the edge bander fired up so that thing can get heated up and we can edge band our parts when we're done cutting. So now we'll just finish cross cutting and you can see the mess on the floor. So finish cross cutting all our parts and then we'll take everything to the edge bander. This thing has been such a good investment. This machine is really been great. So you see that black stopper right there? You put a piece in and then that will go down and then up and then your next piece is ready to go. So you can get two pieces going at the same time. So you get one in, go grab the one from the other end, and then you can put another one, so on and so forth. And it's really, this process goes pretty quick with this thing. Most of what we're doing is Euro style cabinets in here, so this thing gets used a lot. All right, so here we're gonna start with cabinet assembly. So when I build vanities, I like to make them one box when possible. This particular vanity is 2 drawer stacks with a sink in the middle. You could make it in 3 boxes. I just prefer to do it this way. So I'll run my bottom piece all the way and then my partitions go all the way to the top. So I'll get my ends on and then I'm using the stretchers that go in between my partitions at the top of my drawer stack cabinets as spacers. So then I know my piece or my partition is spaced perfectly and I'm not gonna have any issues there. And then I'm just tacking out with a brad nailer, pre-drill and screw. I use a tapered countersink bit to screw my plywood stuff together. It is a must because if you don't, if you just blast screws into this stuff, the plywood's gonna split. So pre-drill and screw them together. I use 1 5/8 cabinet screws. And then we'll just repeat the process for the next side. And then I posted on Instagram a little while back me using that brad nailer, the big Milwaukee brad nailer. And I just prefer that honestly over having a hose like a pneumatic gun, which certainly is smaller, but then you're dragging a hose around and I just really can't stand that. So I use that big old Milwaukee thing. But I like it because it's cordless. And then we just attach all the stretchers. If you notice on the walls, I'm starting to kind of collect and hang posters and just different things that I like. So when I was in Hawaii, I kind of got inspired in the tattoo shop because it was really sick and they had the walls completely covered with cool stuff. And so I kind of want to do the same type thing in here and just cover the walls with cool stuff that I like. All right, so now all my stretchers are on and I can turn my focus to the sink portion. So this part is pretty important, so that you want to make sure that you get this piece cut at the right dimension. So what I do here is I'll clamp it on, and then I'll measure at the bottom of the cabinet, my bottom piece, and then I measure at the top of the cabinet. And now I'm checking to make sure that that it's not flared out or pinched in at the top. I want that dimension to be the same. And I'll usually cut those pieces a little bit bigger when I'm cutting my plywood, and then cut it down to size when I'm assembling, just so I can check it, because you don't, with the variation in thickness in plywood, sometimes it could be a little off. So just check that dimension, make sure everything is parallel and square and all that, and then it'll make the rest of your assembly go much smoother. And those screws there, these are all drawers going in these cabinets on the side, so those will get covered up. You'll never even see them. Then I measure for the back, using 1/2 inch for my backs. And trying not to trip and die on that pile of scrap wood. So the back is a very important part of the cabinet, especially these frameless cabinets. This is really going to strengthen this thing and keep it square. So I'll tack it with the brad nailer, get everything lined up nice, and then I'll come back and pre-drill and screw everything together. And this is solid, like this cabinet will be solid. I even mark where those center partitions are so I can get screws in there as well. And then it's just a lot of screws. And then you kind of play the game, grab a handful of screws and see if you guessed the right amount. I don't think I did on this one. I think I was 2 or 3 off. And so then I mark the screws at the top so that when I put my nailer on, I know where the screws are and I don't hit them when I go to screw this on. And so this is my nailer that will attach this thing to the wall. So I get a lot of questions. People think this is a French cleat. It is not a French cleat. There's no miter on it. It's just a flat piece. Now we can move to cutting our drawer fronts down. So that, what I just pointed to, you can't see it on the camera, but on that black piece, there's a line and it is exactly 2 inches from the inside edge of that blade. So I mark the inside edge of that top rail and I line it up with that mark, and then I know my rail is at 2 inches because all my stiles and rails on this job are 2 inches. So then I do the same thing with that inside edge of the stile and line it up with that mark, and I know it's going to be 2 inches. And then I can take it over to my other saw and get it nice and parallel. I don't use the rip fence on my slider because I just really don't like it. It's not the best. And then I cut these things down to their finished size, bring them over to the Vanity and check all my gaps. This is my preferred way to do this. Just lay it down and then you can lay all your drawer fronts and doors and stuff right on there and get your sizes dialed in. I get the slab fronts up at the top. So I just throw a couple strips of 3/4 on the bottom with some brad nails, and this just so I can slide this thing around the shop and not ruin the bottom edge of the doors and drawer fronts when it's all put together. Okay, let's install some slides. I just cut spacers, keep it simple. Pre-drill, I've got a VIX bit in there. So the VIX bit, if you're not sure what a VIX bit is, it's basically a drill bit with kind of like a little collar, so that's spring loaded on the outside of it, and it just gets your hole perfectly centered in the openings that they give you in the drawer slides. And so it's important because if you don't do that and your screw is not perfectly in the center, your drawer slide is going to tilt either up or down, and it's not going to necessarily be straight. So I want my drawer slides to be perfectly straight and square in the box. I grab the drawer boxes and attach the locking device. Same thing, pre-drill this, especially in that piece of maple in the front. If you just blast these little screws in there, it is most likely going to split. So it's important to pre-drill. And we'll just get all these things installed. I do not make my drawer boxes. That is the one thing that I don't do in-house. Well, I have a local shop and she does a really great job. My friend Terry, she makes all these things and they are always really good quality, and she's fast turnaround time, and they're really just great. So, and it's supporting local business, which is awesome. So we'll get these things installed. This one, you can see something was going on here. And the locking device, which this happens from time to time, it's not actually broken, just the orange piece. There's another black piece in there and it kind of got messed up. So I just took it off and replaced it, and I'll fix it later, but it's not broken. It's still good. It happens sometimes. So we'll put that new one on. But if you watch my install kit video, just what happened right there, that is why I always have extras in my install kit. Because if that happens in the field and you don't have an extra locking device with you, that's just annoying. It's just an annoying thing that you have to go back to the job site to replace. So it's always good to keep a couple extra of those with you on hand when you're installing. So now we'll get the fronts on. So I've been installing these a little different lately, especially on this Euro style cabinet. I can take the upper drawers out and just clamp this thing on and get it basically right where I need to be, pre-drill and screw it in from the back. So I'll get 2 screws on the inside of the drawer box, and then I'll get 2 underneath in that little 1/2-inch tab on the bottom of the drawer. And that just keeps the less screws I can have inside the drawer box that you're going to see, the better. So get that screwed in the bottom, and I can get these really, doing it this way, I can get them really close. And then the Blum locking devices and drawer sides are, the adjustments on them are really great. So any tweaks that they need in the field is easy to do with just the adjustments on the locking devices. So then we just repeat the process. I'm using some spacers here. So then for the top one, what I do is I'll put the front on with the spacers, and then I just go right over the top, pre-drill and screw it in. Same thing on the other side. And this project has really been fun. It's been a little different than what I'm typically doing, having to make all the panels and do all that kind of stuff. And having everything rough is certainly different than what I'm used to, but fun. This has been, I'm really having a good time with this project. So then I get the cabinet doors. I still needed to cut them down to size. They were still in clamps. I did these a little different than I did the drawer fronts. So I just got these all parallel over at this saw, and then I take them over to the slider and cross cut them to size. But I am using the same method with the 2-inch line and all that. So all my stiles and rails end up being 2 inches. And then we just check our gaps here from left to right, make sure we're good. And I think we're good there. And then I'm sanding everything. So with this, the customer really wants these to be as rough looking as possible. She doesn't want to lose those saw marks. So I'm really just hitting this with the orbital to knock down all the fuzziness and that sort of thing. So they're kind of smooth, but leaving the rough sawn marks as much as we can. All right, so then we'll get the hinge boring machine out, so we can hang some doors. And this thing is awesome, great machine. I do need to figure out some kind of dust collection for it. Thing is, it's in the front of my shop and I don't really have any dust collection ran over here. Otherwise I would put it, you know, just put the hose up to it. Eventually I'll figure something out, because when you're doing a ton of doors, it does make quite the mess. And I'm using these Blum Inserta hinges. They just snap in, easy as that. Attach the base plates, and then we are off to hang them. So we'll get these hung, get them adjusted, just get them the best we can. Everything always needs a little adjusting after install. I'm sure this thing is not sitting perfectly level on my bench, but I really like the Blum hinges and the adjustments and everything on them. They're really great. They've been my favorite. All right, so this is my drawer front, my false front that goes in front of the sink. So I put these little spacers on the back because everything gets bumpers, 1/8" bumpers. So will be sticking out, and if I just screwed this right to the plywood, it would be an 1/8" back from everything. So I put these 1/8" spacers on. I just hit them with a pin nailer, and then I can sit it on those spacers up there and attach this thing, and I know it'll be an 1/8" off, so that way when all my doors and drawer fronts get the 1/8" bumpers on them, everything will be nice and flush in the front. So I'll just clamp it on, screw it in from the back, and that's it. Looking good. So this vanity also gets a filler on the right and an end panel on the left, but we haven't glued that up yet.
All right, that's it. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. This job is really cool. I'm really stoked with how this is turning out. It's a lot of work, you know, resawing the panels, gluing up all the panels. Just that alone was pretty time consuming. As far as finish goes on this thing, I am not finishing this. My clients actually own a big commercial painting company, and so they're having their guys do all the finishing, which is fine by me. Yeah, that's it. If you guys have questions, let me know down in the comments. Also, Patreon, the Patreon. We do have a Patreon page. We have a group of people over there, and it's a great way to support the channel. I much appreciate it. Yeah, the link is down below. If you guys click that link, you can go over there and check it out. Just do like some weekly shop updates and stuff for now, and that's really it. That's all I got. Be sure to like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, and we will see you on the next video, which is probably going to be the next part of this whole door making process. We did the panels last week. Next week will be actually milling up the door parts and getting the doors done. So we'll show you that whole process, but that's it. Peace.